Seraphine's hand dug into my shoulder like a talon, her smile frozen but her eyes murderous. The room buzzed with shock, whispers rising like wildfire. And in that moment, I realized Samantha hadn't just exposed me. She had forced Seraphine into the one thing she couldn't stand, chaos. But Seraphine Vale never lost control for long. And the look in her eyes promised that her counterstrike would be devastating. The ballroom had never felt louder, gasps, camera shutters, frantic murmurs rippling through the glittering sea of gowns and tuxedos. Samantha's voice still rang in the air, sharp and defiant. This isn't her daughter. This is Ethan Carter. And Isabella Vale isn't dead, she's right here. Dozens of heads turned. Guests whispered, some laughing nervously, others clutching pearls. The lie that had been woven so carefully was unraveling in real time. For a flicker of a second, I saw fear in Seraphine's eyes. But it vanished as quickly as it appeared. Her smile widened. "Ah," she said, her voice carrying calm authority. "The desperate lies of outsiders." She raised a hand toward Samantha and Isabella. "You see before you a bitter ex-girlfriend and a disturbed woman impersonating my late daughter." Pitiable, really. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Whispers shifted. In seconds, she'd flipped the script. "Look at them," Seraphine continued smoothly, trying to ruin a joyous night. "But I forgive them." After all, she pulled me closer, tilting my chin toward the cameras. "The truth stands before you." Flashbulbs exploded. I stood frozen, dressed in silver, painted lips trembling. Samantha shouted, "Ethan, tell them the truth." My heart slammed against my ribs. Dozens of eyes burned into me, waiting, judging. If I said I was Ethan, the cameras would eat it alive, and Seraphine would destroy me with the video she held. If I said I was ALLLLLLLLL, I'd be sealing myself into her gilded cage forever. Seraphine's whisper curled into my ear, venom sweet as sugar. "Smile, daughter. Or you'll lose everything." Samantha's voice broke, raw and pleading. "Don't let her erase you. Please. You're more than her doll." Isabella stepped forward, her jaw tight, her eyes brimming with fury. "Don't you see? She'll never stop until you choose." The crowd leaned forward, hungry for drama. The stage lights seared my skin. And for the first time, I realized this wasn't just about me. It wasn't just about Ethan or ALLLLLL. It was about everyone Seraphine had ever twisted, broken, erased. My lips parted. My voice cracked. "I am." The crowd held its breath. Samantha's hands were clenched white at her sides. Isabella's eyes begged me to fight. Seraphine's nails dug into my shoulder, ready to crush me with whatever answer I gave. And in that single, burning moment, I understood. No matter what name I spoke, someone's world would shatter. The ballroom was silent except for the steady click of camera shutters. Seraphine's hand on my shoulder felt like a claw. Samantha's trembling voice echoed in my head, "Don't let her erase you." Isabella's eyes blazed with fury and desperation. "I am." The words caught in my throat. Ethan felt like a weight chained to me. ALLLLLL felt like a cage closing in. I lifted my chin, forcing air into my lungs. "I am not Ethan," I said. "And I am not Isabella." The crowd gasped. Seraphine's grip tightened, nails biting into my skin. "I am ALLLLLL," I said clearly, my voice breaking but loud enough for every microphone, every camera. But not hers. Not anyone's. Mine. A ripple of shock ran through the room. Guests whispered, confused, hungry for scandal. Samantha's face crumpled in disbelief. Isabella's jaw clenched, a storm raging behind her eyes. And Seraphine smiled. "My daughter," she purred, pulling me close again as if nothing had cracked. Such passion, such fire. "You see? She speaks for herself." The crowd erupted in applause. The cameras flashed brighter. In a matter of seconds, Seraphine had turned my rebellion into her triumph. Samantha shook her head, tears glittering. No, she twisted it. Isabella muttered, she always does. And I felt the floor tilt beneath me. I'd meant those words as defiance, as a claim to my own self. But Seraphine had stolen even that, twisting it into her narrative before the world. After the gala, in the limousine, Seraphine poured champagne with delicate grace. You did beautifully tonight, she said, handing me a glass. The world adores you. ALLLLLLLLL, Veil, the rebirth of legacy. I stared at the bubbles, my throat dry. I said I wasn't yours. Her smile widened. And yet, the world believes you are. My blood ran cold. Then she leaned closer, her perfume dizzying. You have a choice, darling. Stay with me, bask in the power, and I'll give you everything. Or try to run again, and I will burn Ethan Carter's name so deep into the mud that not even Samantha will remember who you were. Her whisper lingered, velvet and venom. Either way, you'll never escape me. Samantha and Isabella were waiting for me outside the ballroom, their faces pale, eyes desperate. Samantha reached for me. We can still fight. We can still win. Isabella added quietly, but only if you stop playing her game. I looked at their hands, then back at the limousine where Seraphine sat, sipping champagne like a queen in her throne. 2 paths. 2 lives. Both already poisoned. And I realized with a sinking dread, whichever path I chose, Seraphine Vale had already written the ending. The limousine pulled away, leaving me standing under the glow of the hotel's golden awning. Samantha's hand was still outstretched, trembling, waiting for me to take it. Isabella lingered behind her, arms folded, her face shadowed with both anger and something almost like pity. I felt hollow, my ears still ringing with the applause from inside the ballroom. Applause for a lie. Samantha spoke first, her voice low but urgent. We can't fight her in secret. She owns the shadows. If we want to win, we do it in the light. I blinked at her. What are you talking about? She gestured toward the hotel where guests still streamed out, phones flashing. Seraphine feeds on her image. Her empire isn't money, it's control of the story. So we rip it out of her hands. We make the story about what she really is. My chest tightened. You want to expose me? No, Samantha said firmly. I want to expose her. Isabella stepped forward, her voice clipped. You'll never topple her with scandals. She's survived whispers for decades. You have to cut deeper, into the legacy itself. The Veil name. I turned to her. And you'd help us? After everything? Her gaze locked with mine, steady and bitter. Do you think I care about saving you? This isn't about you. It's about ending her. If she falls, I'm finally free. Samantha nodded grimly. Then we work together. But Isabella's warning lingered in the air, not to save me, but to save herself. We holed up in a small apartment Samantha borrowed from a friend, the city lights flickering through cracked blinds. Maps, articles, and old business records sprawled across the table. Seraphine controls everything through her charities, her galas, her brand, Samantha explained. But if we can prove she manipulates people behind the scenes, models, clients, even her own daughter, her empire will collapse. Isabella smirked coldly. Then we give her the one performance she can't spin. I frowned. What does that mean? She turned you into her masterpiece, Isabella said. So you turn on her, publicly. On camera. At her next event. My blood ran cold. That would destroy me. It would destroy her, Isabella snapped. The world adores you now. If you expose her in front of them, if they see the cracks, her entire facade shatters. Samantha reached for my hand, softer. It doesn't have to be forever. It doesn't have to erase Ethan or Alara. But it has to be you. Speaking your truth. Not hers. I stared at the papers scattered on the table, my reflection warped in the window's glass. Seraphine Vale had built me into her doll, her daughter, her heir. But what if I used her creation against her? The thought was terrifying. Liberating. Dangerous. And yet, as I looked at Samantha's steady hand in mine, and Isabella's sharp eyes watching me, I realized something Seraphine had never expected. Her masterpiece might be the one thing that could unmake her. The weeks leading up to Seraphine's next gala blurred into a haze of tension. Samantha pored over legal loopholes, media contacts, and anonymous upload platforms, weaving safety nets in case everything collapsed. Isabella worked in silence, her knowledge of Seraphine's routines and triggers forming the skeleton of our plan. And me? I stared at mirrors until I hated them. Every reflection was a battlefield, Ethan's hollow eyes staring back at me one moment, Alara's painted perfection the next. I no longer knew which face was mine, or if either ever had been. But one truth hardened in my chest: if I wanted freedom, I'd have to shatter both. The night of the gala arrived. Another ballroom. Another cathedral of chandeliers and glass, full of laughter and money and people who believed Seraphine Vale could do no wrong. She glided into the spotlight with me at her side, her hand resting on my arm like I was her prized jewel. Cameras snapped like gunfire. Tonight, Seraphine announced, you will see the future of the Vale legacy. Applause thundered. Eyes turned to me. And for a heartbeat, I almost faltered, because the role of Allara fit too perfectly. But then I caught sight of Samantha in the crowd, her eyes burning with quiet defiance. And behind her, Isabella's piercing stare, sharp as a blade. The plan was alive. And it was my turn to play my part. Seraphine handed me the microphone with a smile that could slice glass. Say something, darling. Show them who you are. My throat tightened. The lights blinded me. The room swayed with expectation. I drew in a breath. My voice, soft at first, then steadier. I am Allara Vale, but not because of her. A ripple of confusion ran through the crowd. Seraphine's smile stiffened. I continued, louder. Seraphine Vale didn't give me life. She stole it. She dressed me up, paraded me, erased who I was, just like she erased her own daughter. Isabella Vale didn't drown. She survived. And she's here. Gasps exploded. Heads turned. Isabella stepped forward into the light, shoulders squared, her face hard as stone. The room erupted, whispers, disbelief, phones rising to record. Seraphine's mask cracked at last. But Seraphine Vale wasn't queen of this empire for nothing. Her voice sliced through the noise, cold and commanding. Do not be deceived. This is theater. Lies staged by jealous children and bitter lovers. Proofless accusations meant to smear my name. She turned to me, her eyes burning with fury beneath the mask. Darling, tell them the truth. That you begged for this. That you chose me. The crowd hushed, waiting. My chest heaved. This was the knife's edge. If I faltered now, Samantha's work, Isabella's courage, my own last shred of self, all of it would be swallowed whole. I raised the microphone again, my heart pounding in my throat. Maybe I did beg, I said, my voice shaking but loud. But what you saw wasn't freedom. It was control. And tonight, I'm done being controlled. The room exploded. Gasps. Shouts. Cameras flashing like lightning. And for the first time, Seraphine Vale's mask shattered completely. Her eyes burned with a rage so pure it was almost inhuman. And I knew the real war was about to begin. The ballroom was chaos, gasps, murmurs, flashes of cameras. My words still echoed over the sound system, I'm done being controlled. For the first time, Seraphine Vale's perfect mask shattered. Rage boiled across her face, raw and terrifying. But even in fury, she remained calculated. She lifted a manicured hand, and the screens around the room flickered to life. Every gala had them, giant displays to showcase sponsors, charities, brand slogans. Tonight, Seraphine had prepared something else. The speakers crackled, and then I heard my own voice. "Please, make me ALLLLLLLLLL forever." Gasps rippled through the crowd. On screen, a video played, me in the red room, draped in a sapphire gown, eyes glassy with tears and longing. "I don't ever want to be Ethan again." The audience erupted. Whispers turned to shock, then to judgment. Phones flew up to record. Samantha's face drained of color. Isabella's jaw clenched. And me, I felt the ground give way beneath my feet. Seraphine's voice sliced through the noise, triumphant. "Do you see? She begged for this. ALLLLLLLL is no prisoner, she is my daughter by choice." The room seemed to agree. Some guests applauded, others whispered, a few shook their heads in pity at me, not her. She had flipped the trap. Again. "No!" Samantha's voice broke across the room, raw with fury. "You don't see what she does behind closed doors. She forces people into her mold, her daughter, her clients, Ethan." That video was taken under manipulation. But Seraphine only smiled. And yet, the words are hers. Her gaze locked on me, burning. "Tell them, ALLLLLLL. Tell them you belong to me." Dozens of eyes pierced me. The cameras zoomed closer. The screens froze on my painted face from the video, lips parted in desperate surrender. My chest heaved. Part of me wanted to scream the truth, to rip away the illusion and burn it all. Another part of me wanted to disappear into the fantasy, to drown as ALLLLLL and never feel Ethan's shame again. Isabella leaned close, her voice low but sharp. "This is it. If you stay silent, she wins. Forever." Samantha grabbed my hand, squeezing so tightly it hurt. "Fight her. Please." And Seraphine, calm once more, whispered in my ear, just loud enough for the microphones to catch, "Choose me, and the world will worship you. Choose them, and I'll bury Ethan so deep the world will never hear his name again." The room held its breath. On screen, my double stared down at me, ALLLLLL, flawless and broken, begging for forever. And I realized with icy clarity, the next words out of my mouth wouldn't just decide my future. They would decide whether Ethan Carter lived at all. The ballroom was suffocating. The giant screens froze on my painted face, lips trembling as I begged Seraphine in the recorded video, "Please, make me ALLLLLL forever." The audience's whispers sliced like knives. Some sympathetic. Some mocking. All damning. Seraphine stood poised beside me, a queen awaiting her coronation. "Tell them, darling," she purred, her voice amplified through the microphone. "Tell them you chose me. That you are ALLLLLL." Her hand tightened on my shoulder. Cameras zoomed in. Every exit felt sealed. But then, Samantha's voice cut through the noise. "You don't own her." And Isabella's followed, sharper, more dangerous. "You never owned me either, Mother." The words cracked something inside me. My chest burned. I snatched the microphone from Seraphine's hand. My voice shook, but it carried. "Yes, that video is me. Yes, I begged. But you don't know what she did to make me beg. You don't know what it's like to be stripped of choices until you believe surrender is freedom." The crowd stilled. Dozens of faces turned, riveted. "I am ALLLLLL. And I am Ethan. And I am not hers." The room erupted in gasps. For a moment, for a single, blinding heartbeat, it felt like I'd won. But Seraphine Vale never surrendered. She raised her hand, and the screens flickered again. The video of me vanished, replaced with something else. A hospital room. A teenage boy, pale and bandaged, sitting on the edge of a bed. Me. Years ago. My voice, young and cracked with shame, "Sometimes I wish I could just stop being myself. Sometimes I wish I could disappear and wake up as someone else." The audience gasped again, but softer, sadder this time. Murmurs spread like wildfire. Samantha froze. Isabella's face paled. And me, I felt my heart cave in. Because Seraphine hadn't just weaponized ALLLLLLL. She had reached into Ethan's deepest wounds, the pieces of me I thought no one had ever seen. Even before I touched her, Seraphine said, her voice cool, victorious, Ethan wanted to vanish. I gave her the gift of becoming ALLLLLL. I gave her what she begged for all her life. The audience shifted. Some sympathetic, others enthralled. Seraphine knew exactly what she was doing, twisting my pain into her triumph. Samantha's eyes met mine across the chaos. Don't let her rewrite you, she mouthed. But how could I fight this? Seraphine had dug so deep into me that even my oldest secrets now belonged to her. The spotlight burned. The cameras flashed. And in that moment, I wasn't sure whether the crowd saw a victim, a fraud, or something else entirely. Only one thing was certain, if I didn't act now, Ethan Carter would be erased forever. The ballroom buzzed with chaos, the giant screen still frozen on my teenage face, Seraphine's voice echoing, I gave her what she begged for all her life. The weight of it pressed into me, years of shame, secrets, and control, until I almost crumpled. But then Samantha stormed forward, snatching a microphone from the stage crew. Her voice cracked through the noise. She twists every truth to fit her story. Look at Isabella, look at her own daughter. She faked her death to keep her obedient. Is that the act of a loving mother, or a tyrant? Gasps. The crowd turned. Isabella stepped into the spotlight, her blonde hair catching the flashes, her face pale but resolute. She drowned me, Isabella said coldly. Dragged me under when I refused to play her perfect doll. And when I survived, she buried me in lies. Tonight, I bury her. The room erupted, panic, disbelief, whispers swelling like a storm. Seraphine's face twisted, fury and calculation warring in her eyes. She seized another microphone, her voice slicing through the chaos. They're broken. Bitter. Look at them, scrambling for attention, desperate to tear me down because they could never live up to me. She turned to me, her smile venomous. But you, darling, you proved you're mine. Tell them. Tell them who you belong to. The crowd hushed, the moment teetering like glass on the edge of a table. My pulse thundered. Samantha's hand trembled on my arm. Isabella's eyes burned with desperate fire. Seraphine's voice curled into me like a snake, say it. Or lose everything. And for the first time, I realized, maybe the only way to beat her wasn't to deny her. It was to turn her own weapon against her. The ballroom was silent, the air thick as glass. Seraphine's eyes bored into me, daring me to submit. Say it, she commanded. Tell them you're mine. The crowd leaned forward, waiting for the verdict. I lifted the microphone, my hands trembling, but my voice rang out steady. You're right, Seraphine. I am yours. Your project. Your creation. Your so-called daughter. Gasps rippled. Samantha's face crumpled. Isabella stiffened in shock. Seraphine's smile widened, triumphant. But I wasn't finished. And that's why you've already lost. I gestured toward the screens. Play the rest. The crowd turned. The screens flickered, and suddenly Seraphine's own recordings, stolen and hidden by Isabella, blazed across the ballroom. Her voice, cold and unmistakable, perfection requires destruction first. Isabella was flawed. Ethan is succeeding. I perfected the process. Clips followed, Isabella sobbing as Seraphine drilled her in posture, me begging in the red room, Seraphine's voice pressing me to surrender. The room erupted, gasps, shouts, phones raised to capture everything. And then Isabella stepped forward, her voice sharp as a knife. You all wanted the perfect Seraphine veil. Well, here she is, a woman who drowned her daughter and built puppets to replace her. The crowd turned like a tide. Whispers became outrage. Applause dissolved into condemnation. Seraphine's mask shattered completely. She lunged for the microphone, hissing, "Do not believe them. They are nothing without me. But the crowd recoiled. Cameras zoomed in on her face, twisted, desperate, exposed. Her empire of control collapsed not with silence, but with the roar of voices condemning her. Security, hers, hesitated. Then one by one, they lowered their eyes, backing away. The queen was dethroned. The lights blinded me. Reporters shouted. Samantha rushed to my side, clutching my hand like she'd never let go. Isabella stood tall, her face still lined with pain but lit with relief. And me? I looked into the cameras, millions of eyes watching, and spoke the only truth I had left. I'm not Ethan. I'm not Alara. I'm both. And I will never belong to anyone but myself again. The applause this time was real, chaotic, defiant, liberating. Seraphine Vale stood frozen, powerless, as the world she built burned down around her. Weeks later, Seraphine vanished from public life, lawsuits and scandals devouring her empire. Isabella began to live openly, no longer a ghost. Samantha and I rebuilt, slowly, painfully, but honestly. And me? Sometimes I looked in the mirror and saw Ethan. Sometimes Alara. Sometimes both. But for the first time, I didn't flinch. Because I had finally chosen to be mine.